There is a power on this earth which has existed for hundreds of years. It has altered the way we live, has moved mountains, changed the course of rivers, shaped the outcome of wars, and forever changed the history of humanity. That force is the corporation. In the 21st century, corporations are the lifeblood of modern civilization. Their impact is felt in almost every activity of human endeavor. Corporations control what we eat, how we communicate, and how we travel. From the time we are born, while we are children, and even how we die, corporations play a role in almost every aspect of our lives. Billions of dollars electronically flow from one corporation to the next in the blink of an eye. And although corporations are not allowed to vote, the political process has often been manipulated and even guided by the hands of corporations. Today, corporations practically know no boundaries, and they have been forces for human advancement as well as disaster. Thanks to corporations, we have witnessed incredible advances in almost every conceivable technology. However, if left unchecked, corporations have the potential of committing irreparable harm to our planet and its inhabitants. In order to understand what a modern corporation is today, it is imperative that we understand the origins of where they came from. So let's go on a journey through time and space to find out how the corporation of today got its start. The first corporations appeared in the early 17th century in Europe, where monarchs gave the corporations a specific public mission in exchange for the formal right to exist. The corporation was conceived of early in the colonial era as a grant of privilege extended from the monarch to a group of investors, typically to finance a trade mission. The establishment of the corporation limited the liability of investors to the amount of their investment. A right.
Hold on really quickly. So he's starting with the modern corporation. The actual corporation, though, the history goes back to Rome. Excuse me. The history of the corporation goes back to Rome, where the college was the actual precursor to the corporation. So that's why you get in business, when you say you working with your what? Your colleagues. That's why colleague and college are the same word, because it meant a gathering of people. So that's the first corporation. Like if you go watch that show Rome, which is a dope show, I just started watching it again not too long ago. There's a guy who does public notice. He gives a public announcement every day in the public square, and it's called public. This is where you get public notice come from, right? So because the guy would, whatever the emperor wanted or whatever the government was doing, not even just the government, whoever wanted something known, this guy would go and stand in front of the court, and he would, whatever his papers was, and he would spout this whole, and that is happening, and the Emperor Caesar would do this, and he would say all this and that, and then at the end, he would say stuff like, he said something like, Miller's Grain, he says, Miller's Grain is the finest grain in the city, and Booty Wood. Then he would break this whole thing about the Miller's Grain, and then at the end of the announcement, he said, this was brought to you by the Millers, the Millers Union. It was like the Millers, it was like the Millers Union or something. It wasn't union. The word he used wasn't union. Guild, the Millers Guild. So that was the precursor to the corporation. All these motherfuckers back in Rome who were millers, they got together to pay for this announcement on how good their grain was. See, that was a commercial. That was a group of motherfuckers coming together as a corporation paying for a commercial for their grain. Huh. This is ill. Way back in Rome, they showed this. He's like, and this was brought to you by the Millers Guild. And I'm like, oh, snap, the first commercials. So that's where it comes from, way, way back in the day. But it wasn't escaping no limited liability and stuff like that, because you didn't have the business structure and system in Rome wasn't, set up as intricate as it was in the 1800s, you know what I'm saying, for, to escape liability and all this and that, you know what I'm saying? If in Rome, if you messed up, you know what I'm saying, they wanted to come for you, they was coming for you. That's how it went down in Rome. But, you know what I'm saying? So that's just the history of the first corporation, the ancient corporation. And then this is the history of the modern corporation, going back to what he's talking about now.
In the early 17th, the first corporations appeared in the early 17th century in Europe, where monarchs gave the corporations a specific public mission in exchange for the formal right to exist. The corporation was conceived of early in the colonial era as a grant of privilege extended from the monarch to a group of investors, typically to finance a trade mission. The establishment of the corporation limited the liability of investors to the amount of their investment, a right that was not granted to ordinary citizens. The corporation served the interests of both the monarch and the investors, because travel to the New World was anything but a safe investment. Ships of the day often encountered dangerous hurricanes, where many were heavily damaged, cargo was destroyed, and lives lost. In addition, the European powers were constantly at war with one another. Ship-to-ship battles were common, making each expedition a perilous journey. Once an expedition arrived in the New World, the risks were equally as great. Many settlements faced violent opposition from Native Americans. Some early colonies were completely wiped out by native aggression or through misunderstandings caused by colonial ignorance. The United States was settled by one such corporation, the Massachusetts Bay Company, which King Charles I chartered in 1628 in order to colonize the New World for Great Britain. The practice of chartering companies was a crucial part in the establishment of colonies and the mercantile economic system practiced by the era's great powers of Holland, Spain, France, and England. In exchange for the charter, companies expanded their government's wealth and power by creating colonies that served both as source of raw materials and as markets for exported goods. Corporations like the British East India Company made their founding countries wealthy and powerful. In the 18th century, revolutionaries in America were inspired by the notions of the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The American Revolution was fought not only to free the colonies from the grips of the English monarchy, but they also fought to be free of corporate institutions that the monarchy had chartered. For instance, the Boston Tea Party was a protest against the British East India Company's monopoly of the Eastern trade. After the Revolution, the country was expanding beyond the original 13 colonies. In order to build bridges, canals, public roads, and other essential infrastructure, the United States government, or the states themselves, chartered corporations to perform specific public work projects. That began to change in 1807 when President Thomas Jefferson ordered an embargo of both France and England, America's primary trading partners. In order to supply the country with manufactured goods that had previously come from Europe, American citizens formed corporations in order to amass the capital needed to fund the construction of factories and pay workers. These new corporations were no longer offshoots of government, but instead privately held entities created for purposes of profit. One of the most...
Just real quick, because I don't know if he said this in there, but again, that corporation, that corpus, and that body, and the way they model a corporation literally off the body organism is the most important thing. If you understand how the body works, you will be a master of a corporation. If you go into business for that reason.
One of the most successful early corporate pioneers was Cornelius Vanderbilt. He was an American steamship and railroad builder, executive, financier, and promoter. At the age of 16, with a $100 loan from his mother, he opened a transport and freight service between New York City and Staten Island for 18 cents a trip. In 1818, Vanderbilt sold his interest in the freight service and turned his attention to steamboats. And by 1840, he was running more than 100 steamboats, and his company had more employees than any other business in the United States. In the 1860s, Vanderbilt changed direction and invested his companies in the railroad. At his death in 1877, he was the richest man in America with a fortune of over $100 million. As the decades progressed, so did the influence of corporations. One of the turning points for the history of corporations was the American Civil War. Often seen as the first total war, both sides oriented their economies to a war footing. As American fought American in Shiloh, Antietam, Vicksburg, Gettysburg, and Atlanta, the need for railroads, arms, steel, pre-packed food, and other war-fighting essentials was clear. With millions of dollars of profit to be had, in order to build larger and more efficient factories, the corporation allowed for the concentration of capital while limiting the liability of investors.
I had a friend named Rambling Bob. He used to steal, gamble, and rob.
After the war, America was embroiled in the new industrial age, also known as the Gilded Age. It was a time of unbridled profiteering. The robber barons put the interests of profit over that of the public. One such robber baron was Philip Armour. He ran one of the largest corporations in the 19th century, Armour and Company. Armour and Company was the world's largest supplier of packed meat. He got his start during the Civil War by supplying the Union Army with pork. Like all robber barons of the day, Armour was interested in increasing profit, and he did so by increasing efficiency and lowering costs. Henry Ford wrote, "In the disassembly lines of the Chicago Packers, he found the inspiration for the assembly line of his Model T." Although incredibly cruel and heartless and unsanitary, Armour's technique paid off for himself and investors. Along with Gustavus Swift, Armour formed the Meat Trust. In the mid-1880s, at the height of the Second Industrial Revolution, corporations were strengthened once again, this time by a ruling of the Supreme Court. In the case of Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad, the Supreme Court, while invoking the 14th Amendment, defined corporations as persons. Now considered persons, corporations were afforded the same constitutional rights that individuals enjoyed, and corporations would now acquire even more profit at the expense of the rest of America.
So, stopping right there. So, 1880s, they got the legal personhood applied to their designation. So now they're legal persons, which means they have what's called a legal personality, which had been around for a while. So this is the legal personality, the breakdown of the legal personality. And again, the whole point of why we're doing this and showing you all this is because you have to understand the power in organization. This is the structures that they've created actually we created this structure. This, you know, contracts and stuff goes all the way back to ancient Sumeria. But you know what I'm saying, this is what it has evolved to. And you always have had a hierarchical system. It's in nature, it's in, you know, human nature, it's always going to be. And you have to position yourself and find out where do you fall in that hierarchy. And for people to sit up here and say, oh, you know, everyone should be the same, everyone's looked at the same. Yeah, that's some great bullshit, but that's not how life is. Everybody's not the same. A foot can't do, you know what I'm saying, a foot can't do the job of your elbow. No matter how much they want to be just alike, a foot is made to do what a foot is made to do, an elbow is made to do what an elbow is made to do. So, you know what I'm saying, you're going to have hierarchical system. Excuse me. So, you know what I'm saying, this is what you need to understand going into the future and master that. It's the easiest thing to learn. It's all out here for all of you to learn, everybody to learn. You can figure out corporations, trust, foundations. These are the vehicles, organizational systems that they've created for them to hide in. This is the stuff they hiding in. These are vehicles, you know, it's just in a hidden parking lot under a dope ass casino. But you can go in that damn casino and go into the parking lot and get one of them cars too. So, you know what I'm saying? But you have to understand why you need to organize. Not just, oh, black people just need to come together. We just need to come together and get our dollars together and we just gonna be fine. No, why are we just gonna be fine? Why? Where are those dollars gonna go? What are you gonna do with them? What type of systems are you going to create? What type of organizations are you going to create? And what's going to be the purpose of those organizations? Organizations to think tanks for the hood. Creating organizations to say, okay, this is one organization. We're just going to be focused on what the agenda is for the hood. And not some major stuff. We're going to be bringing people up and educating people just on the base things that they need to do to integrate themselves into society, to where society doesn't look at them as lower class and you know what I'm saying, as a class to be thrown away. Boom, we're going to do that. Then there can be another think tank to say, okay, once we get them to that level, we're going to educate them on how to integrate themselves within the business side. So these are different things and organizations that you can create within the hood, different structures, and these things will have power because you're coming together. First of all, these are community, what they call public welfare organizations, because you'll be helping the public. So you can get all of these under nonprofit designations. But even if you don't, they can be for-profit organizations. But you coming together, you know, just, you know, brothers and whoever it is. I'm not going to say sit up here and limit it to people of your same color. This is where we're getting into the whole point of why we're understanding organization. It doesn't matter about what your color is. What's the key note that we're playing on? If you can find a Jew who says, you know what? Melanated people have been persecuted and oppressed for far too long, and we need to get them up and get them into society and make them do it and bring them on up. You better grab that damn Jew, the Jewish person or Khazarian or whoever the hell they are, whoever the hell it is. If it's a person from the planet Zokaran, you grab that motherfucker and work with him. Why? Because y'all on the same frequency. You're harmonizing. That's what the body does. It says, okay, again, when the chest is doing a push-up, the core says, oh, wait, hold up. The chest is tripping. He's by himself. Let's help. This is why we're learning organization and corporation.
A legal personality is what grants a person or organization rights and responsibilities under the law. Since legal systems are built for use by human beings, humans are usually automatically assumed to have a legal personality. In the modern world, the concept is frequently a part of discussions about the rights or legal responsibility of entities such as corporations that cannot be defined by a single person. The concept has also been and continues to be an important part of the discussion on human rights. The granting of a legal personality has long been associated with allowing a person or entity to have an equal or similar status with a human. When the United States was engaged in slavery, slaves were denied the right to a legal personality. This meant that they could not vote, bring grievances, legally marry, or enjoy any of the rights granted by the U.S. Constitution.
Now, this is where much of that legal status comes in. Minority. See, again, you weren't granted a legal personality. Can somebody go and look up minority? No, that's no, minor. I want you to read minor.
Oh, you wanted minor? I thought you said minority.
Minor first.
Okay, minor.
Wait, where's minor? Hold on.
It's back up a little bit. All right. An infant or person who is under the age of legal competence.
That's very important. An infant or person. See how an infant or person. Listen how they designate this is they gave you two distinctions.
Yep.
Minor is an infant or person who is under the age of legal competence. This is a legal designation when you call yourself a minority. Again, we're going to keep going.
Okay. One under 21, a term derived from the civil law which described a person under a certain age as less than so many years.
Right. Now, go to minority.
All right, minority.
Where is it? Oh, here it is.
Got it. All right. The state or condition of a minor infancy.
Infancy. And it just told you a minor was an infant or person who was under the age of legal competence. You can't do anything legally because you don't understand. You're stupid.
So technically that's a status, right?
Yes. So it says a minor is an infant, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now let's go to infant.
All right. A person within age, not of age, or not of full age. A person under the age of 21 years, a minor.
Right. Now, it also said in the state of infancy. Now, go read what infancy.
Okay. Minority. The state of a person who is under the age of legal majority. At common law, 21 years. According to the sense in which this term is used, it may denote the condition of the person merely with reference to his years or the contractual disabilities.
No, you read that too nice. Or
or the contractual disabilities which non-age entails, or his status with regard to other powers or relations.
God damn it. So, as a minority, it just told you it may denote the condition of the person merely. So it basically is like this. It may denote the condition of the person merely with reference to his years, or the contractual disabilities which non-age entails, or his status with regard to other powers or relations. That is damn important. Contractual disabilities, or the contractual disabilities which non-age entails. So if you take on that status, you have taken on the contractual disabilities of an infant.
Which means you have no power.
Yes, you can't contract properly. So, going back to the legal personality, when they said that the slaves didn't have a legal personality, Now you start to see why they had to create this 14th Amendment. They had to like shit. Again, after Dred Scott and all of that comes in and messes it up for all the slaves who were suing and getting free in the court. And then he goes and he the lone dude that gets his case thrown back and messed it up for everybody else. And so they had to state legally in the court that Africans didn't have rights. There was no status for them. Excuse me. So no legal personality. But again, this is the history of the legal personality and why it's so important and why taking on the understanding and power of corporations and organizations is what you need to be doing. Let's go back.
Or organization rights and responsibilities under the law. Since legal systems are built for use by human beings, humans are usually automatically assumed to have a legal personality. In the modern world, the concept is frequently a part of discussions about the rights or legal responsibility of entities such as corporations that cannot be defined by a single person. The concept has also been and continues to be an important part of the discussion on human rights. The granting of a legal personality has long been associated with allowing a person or entity to have an equal or similar status with the human. When the United States was engaged in slavery, slaves were denied the right to a legal personality. This meant that they could not vote, bring grievances, legally marry, or enjoy any of the rights granted by the U.S. Constitution. Women, Native Americans, and other minority groups were often placed in similar categories. By refusing these groups this designation, the state effectively denied they were people in the same way that white men were considered people. The other instance in which a legal personality becomes an important issue is when the entity in question is not a human, but a business, partnership, or corporation. Since laws generally only provide for the behavior and rights of humans, to what extent non-individual entities have rights and legal responsibilities became an important question as these types of organizations became more common and more powerful. For instance, since laws usually only lay out rules for how one person sues another person, a corporation might be impervious to lawsuits unless it is granted some form of personality. Since the Industrial Revolution, when corporations rose to power, the limitations of a legal corporate personality has been an issue of constant debate. While the granting of personhood can help make corporations legally responsible for their actions, it also opens the door to many more intricate questions. For example, if a corporation has a personality separate from its shareholders or owners, some argue that it must also have individual rights, such as the right to vote. If granted the right to vote, however, then shareholders will in effect have the right to vote twice, once as private individuals, and once in the personality of the corporation. As this conflicts with most voting systems, it remains a controversial issue throughout legal circles. In 2010, the United States Supreme Court rendered a decision that many legal scholars describe as a victory for corporate rights. Citizens United v. Federal Election Committee expanded the free speech rights of corporations by holding that it is unconstitutional to prohibit legal persons from engaging in election expenditures and electioneering. While critics see this ruling as tantamount to allowing corporate-sponsored candidates in the future, proponents argue that it is unfair to grant legal personality that grants equal responsibilities but not equal rights.
So, really quick. So again, corporations are legal persons, but not natural persons. So they don't have the full rights of a natural person, which means they can't vote. However, the Supreme Court just went around that by allowing them to put as much money as they can behind political candidates, which basically is a vote. Like I can't go to the ballot and say who I want, but if I put $15 million behind one dude or however much it is, that's basically saying, you know what I'm saying? I don't give somebody $15 million who I hate.
Yeah, that's actually more powerful than a vote.
Exactly. So, so that's why the legal personality, again, has become so powerful and why you want to take control and master that. Again, moving in groups you know what I'm saying, was our thing. You know what I'm saying? We understood unity and understand unity at its base level. This is how we, you know, the Moors were able to rule for so long. The Moors weren't mashing by themselves. It wasn't single clans running everything. Excuse me. It wasn't single clans running everything. So, you know, that we have that knowledge inherently. We just lost it. And so to get that back, this is how you acquire, and this is how you're going to gain your status back. It's not going to be going back to the government and saying, oh, you owe us reparations for what you did and this and that. And you can do that, but you're not going to do that unless you come back legally correct, or what's called in your impropria persona, in your proper person. And most people don't know what that is. Calling yourself African American and black and nigger, Negroes and all the rest of this, you'll never get anything like that. Unless they decide just to give it to you because they just want to shut you up. They give you a little change, but that's nowhere near, you know what I'm saying, what you're actually owed as far as your inheritance. So you can go get some reparations and then go give it right back to Nike if you want. But you're owed land, you're owed more than that, and they've enumerated what your rights are. So my point, though, is you don't have to go back and do it like that. They've already said, yeah, we owe them. We owe the Aboriginals we took the land from, basically. And got our government and modeled our government after with that House Joint Resolution 331. So with that on the books, you know what I'm saying, that's an admission. Even if they say, oh, that's not a law, which it is, you know, both the Congress and the House both agreed on it, which makes it a joint resolution. So where the president doesn't really have to rule on it. You can use that when you go back and try to ask, and not ask, but you tell them, look, I'm coming back for my rightful inheritance. Now, you can go back and try to do that legally through the courts and all that, and this brother's trying to do that. To me, that's anti-productive. That's not how the universe and our nature works. It works on, okay, that's what we had. We had it, we used it, we lost it. Somebody else got the knowledge, they got it. They're fucking up. So ultimately, they're going to lose it eventually because they're not using the laws correctly. But you're supposed to be positioning yourself to be in the correct place for when that does happen. Most people living in the past. You don't live in the past. Success means what comes next. That's the definition of what is success. Literally means what comes next. And that's why the Moors were who they were. We always had more. That's why M-O-R-E, which means more, it means, you know, in addition to. It also was our actual name in French. That's what they taught us. That's how they spelled Moors, the people, in France. So you're with that. You know, you're all integrated and interwoven in all that meaning. So when you reemerge, when your societies and your cultures and your, you know, your empires reemerge, you're supposed to go out and create new shit and get new shit. So, okay, all right, we lost all that. Yep, that's what's up. You know, you at the game, you at the poker table, you roll craps, and then you can't be like, hey, can I get another roll? Nah, nigga. You can get another roll, but not with this money. you can throw another 100 in the pot and then see what you get. But this 100 is gone. You put your hand up in here, you're gonna get it cut off. You lost. You played the game and you lost. Because ultimately, what most people don't understand is the earth doesn't belong to anybody. And it belongs to everyone simultaneously. You don't have any specific right over it than anybody else. It's the mother, it's the great mother to everyone. And she's going to choose who she gives resources and who she nurtures. And that's going to be who gives and resource, and excuse me, that's going to be that's going to be to the people who give back to her and nurture her. So as Aboriginals, we understood we didn't own the land. We were caretakers, which is why we didn't trip when the colonists came over here. We were like, yeah, man, take that little piece of land over here. Yo, this is how you fish. yo, go skin this bear like this so y'all can stay warm, because y'all niggas y'all pale as fuck already. So y'all better get y'all asses warm. So it was that type of understanding. It's only the mentality of we own land is some newer shit. Really, we took over land, obviously, back throughout history. We understood that but it was also about the resources. It was more so just about where the resources were, because the resources are going to help you to perpetuate and go and move on. So, what most people need to be doing right now is not looking back to what we lost. Now, you want to understand that, because you want to know where you came from to know how to move in the future. But coming together as organizations and corporations and reacquiring that property, those resources, with new information, new technology, newer ways to lock it up, to make it better. And then when we get it, then slap your Aboriginal status on top of it. Then it can't be taken from you this time. See, now you're reacquiring and locking it up instead of going back and be like, can I get my old land back? No, they're going to be like, no, nigga. No, you can't have it back. I got 1 million satellites on this thing. I got a damn army base under this mountain. Nigga, I got tanks being built in the secret base that you don't know about on this damn plot of land. You know you ain't getting this land back. Nigga, you crazy? No, they not giving that land back. But you can reacquire power through unity in your organizations and then start to go back, reacquire land and property and resources and lock that shit up. That's how you get back.
Hello everyone, Thought Monkey here. Today we'll be exploring how corporations came to be so powerful and how they have come to dominate our shopping centers and politics. First, a little bit of background about what a corporation is. The word corporation comes from the Latin word corpus, which means body of people. In fact, in ancient Roman law, corporate entities were recognized and even given protection under the law. Similarly today, by definition, a corporation is simply a group of people who have been authorized by law to act as a single legal entity. And while most of the time we use the word corporate negatively, corporations are not innately bad. They can be bad or good, just like people. However, over the past 100 years, corporations have gained certain legal rights that have allowed them to gain more and more power. Again,
what cartoon, for you old head in here, what cartoon from the 80s would a corporation be? Where it said a body of people that came together to form one person, to form one thing. What
that would be Voltron, whether you're talking about the lions or the vehicles.
There you go, Voltron. That's exactly what a corporation is.
Of course, you could say that's Transformers too.
But Voltron was first though.
Yeah, because you got Devastator, you got Aviator, you got Computron.
Yeah, Voltron was it. Voltron was no joke. You got 5 individual lions come together, bam! don't you mess around up there. Pull this flaming sword out on your butt. So yeah, that's what a corporation is. It's Voltron.
some use their power responsibly for good while others recklessly for bad. Think Google versus ExxonMobil. Corporate rights that have allowed them to gain people. However, over the past 100 years, corporations have gained certain legal rights that have allowed them to gain more and more power. Again, some use their power responsibly for good while others recklessly for bad. Think Google versus ExxonMobil. Corporations today are super powerful for a number of reasons. First, corporations are allowed to create political action committees, or PACs for short, which are basically organizations that pool money from members and donate those funds to campaign for or against candidates, ballot initiatives, or legislation. For example, AT&T donated nearly $3 million during the 2016 campaign cycle, on funding the campaigns of possible representatives they believed would put out legislation in AT&T's best interest. Second, corporations tend to spend a lot of money on lobbying in Washington in the hopes of influencing politicians on a particular issue. For example, the oil company ExxonMobil has spent over $200 million alone over the past 20 years on lobbying. Just in 2008, the company spent over $29 million in an effort to defeat legislation that addressed climate change.
Now look at that, $200 million on lobbying. You think your vote count?
Especially when you know that a vote is nothing more than a wish.
Dude, so again, just to reiterate, this is the vehicles you have to get into in the future. You can't be sitting around here talking about now this again, Black Lives Matter. This is the thing, Black Lives Matter could be on such a powerful level if they understood how to organize it correctly. But you know, they have a level of power too right now, but they started to die out. Their power may kick back up when the next election cycle come back around. But you know, they started off, you know, just a couple of women who were pissed about, you know, their brothers and sisters and sons and fathers being killed, and you know, they had that emotion, and boom, it became powerful. But they don't understand how to organize it properly. See now, I think the light-skinned brother who came in, I forgot his name, who runs it now. Man, what is his name? He's like 75% Caucasian. But,
yeah, I've heard his name. I can't recall it right now.
Right, but you know what I'm saying? He could pass for white if he needed to, Caucasian. But you know what I'm saying? I think they come in, they try to give some structure to it or whatever, but they don't even understand how powerful they could be if they understood the organization game as much as they could or should. Now, they do have a level of power. Like when people hear the term Black Lives Matter, especially politicians, they get scared now. They get say, oh shit, Black Lives Matter here? Oh, whoa, hey, oh, ha, ha. Tell them I'm not here. Tell them niggas ducking to the bathroom in their office in the Congress building. So, you know what I'm saying? They have a level of power right now, but they still don't even understand how to use it. And they should. And if most melanated people were watching, you could see that getting into these organizational structures is how you put fear into them. You have to form Voltron. Now, you marching around out there talking about we shall overcome and, you know what I'm saying, and justice, no peace, and blah, 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 and this and all that. That ain't nothing. It's a gang of y'all scattered. Still, y'all maybe y'all here as one, y'all here right now one, but y'all ain't got no major purpose. Y'all just talking. There's no purpose, no motivation, there's no focus, no goal. So as long as y'all can be out here, y'all can have 1 million of y'all niggas out here if y'all just singing. Y'all just shouting. Y'all ain't planning and doing nothing. Nigga, please. I'll give all y'all niggas bullhorn. Hey, please order 1 billion bullhorns for these niggas, please. I'm gonna get y'all gold-studded, jewel-studded, gold plate, gold leaf fucking bullhorns so you can spout your bullshit. Because
that's hilarious.
You ain't moving, you ain't doing nothing. Unless y'all organizing and actually putting action into motion, action into, you know what I'm saying, or a thought into action, you're not doing anything. So, and the dude said it nicely on CNN. He said, Black Lives Matter. He said, they have a lot of power. He says, but they're not really an organization, are they? They're more like a movement. They don't have a center. They don't have a center or a center of organization. I was like, what? That fool just broke them off. This Caucasian jumped on there and said, we don't have to be scared. Basically, he was talking to his Caucasian people. Said, hey, we don't have to be scared of Black Lives Matter, Caucasians, because they're not really organized. That's basically what he told them.
Yeah. And after that, that's when they started calling them. That's when they started calling it Black Lives Matter movement. After that,
man, it's again. They know. He basically went on there and said, "Fear not, my Caucasoid fellows. They're not organized. we have nothing to fear." So again, but here's the real breakdown of the corporation and one I was going to show y'all earlier.
There's no need to fear, really? From Wonder Dog?
Seriously, no need to fear. So check this out. This is a really great breakdown of the corporation and where what it is and what it really should be, an organization as a whole.
The world of business is in crisis. We are facing unprecedented challenges. We have created a world where some companies are not allowed to fail, while others struggle to survive. The question executives are asking isn't, how much are we going to make next quarter? It's, are we going to make it to next quarter? We've created a world where the majority of workers are emotionally disconnected from their jobs. We are in a fragile economy, one out of balance. Continuing on this path by doing more of the same with greater efficiency will not solve our problems. We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. We've got to do something different. So, how do we do it? Surprisingly enough, the answers are hidden within the relationship between our ecology and our economy. We often think of ecology and economy as being separate entities, but we are mistaken. There is little doubt that this misunderstanding could be contributing to our hypersensitive and reactive global economy. Think about it. If you have no ecology, you have no economy. Recent studies in neuroscience, behavioral science, quantum physics, and even cellular biology show that the wisdom of nature can be used to solve the most pressing problems of business. In fact, hidden within the relationship between ecology and economy is a pathway to creating sustainable success for individuals, for organizations, and for our world. Look deep into nature, and then you will understand everything better. When most people think of nature, they think of trees, mountains, lakes, oceans, deserts, and all manner of animal and plant life. What most people miss are the underlying principles that nature uses to create and support life. For millions of years, nature has, through the process of evolution, tried out all different kinds of processes and mechanisms, and honed them down to make the most perfect systems to support life. These principles are shared by all life forms, even the most primitive organisms on the planet. It is these principles that may offer a solution to our problems. Why wouldn't we want to use principles proven to create sustainable success for millions of years? Nature may be our most qualified business consultant. What if you could hire the world's best business consultant with millions of years of experience and a proven track record for sustainable success? Well, you can. The consulting firm is called Nature. What would happen if we applied the same successful principles of nature to the principles of business? When we examine the principles of nature, we will discover nature's wisdom, even in observing the most basic unit of life. In reality, the first organizations in the world were cells. During the first 3 billion years of life, cells were scattered all over the planet. And through evolution, cells started to come together in order to thrive. They began to specialize, take on different roles, and work together to create a sustainable system. Today, multicellular organisms thrive because of their diversity and collaboration towards that common goal. Companies represent living systems, and the people who work within them are like cells in a multicellular organism. They should all cooperate and work in community. And if they were following the principles of nature, they would be all sharing a common goal, striving for the betterment of the whole organization. However, today, the operating principles of many companies and organizations are unsustainable and out of balance. They are out of alignment with the principles of nature and may lack diversity and harmony among other natural principles. resulting in company-wide disengagement, miscommunication, and underperformance. In fact, the whole world is facing profound problems because we are collectively ignoring the principles of nature. Virtually every living system is in decline, and they are declining at ever-increasing rates. Today, we are facing a tsunami of problems, so severe that they have pushed us to the brink of disaster. Most businesses and organizations today operate under the concept that the survival of the fittest is the primary driving force of evolution and business. In business, the survival of the fittest has been interpreted over time to mean that only the most unethical and most ruthless companies will survive. That it's a cutthroat world out there, and that the end justifies the means, especially when it comes to making money.
See, this is the type of shit I'm talking about. Brothers can create a black lobby. I don't like to say, melanated lobby, but for all intents and purposes, they can create a lobby for themselves. See, they don't understand. That's where your power is going to come from. And you got what they got in Congress, the Black Congressional whatever caucus, Black Congressional Caucus or something like that. So they're organizing on certain levels, and those are the Boulay brothers. But they ain't really getting nothing done. No, they ain't really getting nothing done because they still don't understand where the power comes in those organizations. Now they do have some power though, like the Black Congressional Caucus or whatever. Like, Caucasians will they'll check in with them on a lot of issues and stuff before they make moves and votes and legislation. So they gotta, they have a level of power within that corporation, as far as perceived power, I should say. But real power is gonna come with, whoever this is who wants to buck the system, the whole system coming together and having that one keynote, that one frame of mind, that one frequency. And it's not hard. It's, the information on how to incorporate and how to organize is out here, which is what this is for. We're teaching how the base philosophy of what an organization is, what an organism is. It's a living entity. As an organism, what you're trying to do, or what you're working to do, is create another person. It's like giving birth, but it's a collective birth. The corporation is the child of everyone in it. So that's literally what you're doing. You're on a extrapolated scale. You're generating. You're creating. You're literally you're procreating. Metaphorically, but a corporation is an entity that can last forever if it has the right people in it, backing it, and it has the right and it was created on the right principles in the first place. So, this is, again, the mentality that you brothers need to get into quick.
This mindset has led us down a dangerous and ultimately catastrophic path. Nature, by the way it created itself through evolution, is not a system based on competition. Nature is a system based on cooperation. There is a 17th century definition of competition that is very different from what it has become today. According to Webster's dictionary, the original definition of competition was derived from two Latin root words, which meant to strive for a common goal. To strive together for something is quite different than the current meaning of competition, which is to win at any cost, or to seek.
And the reason it had that meaning was because you compete. The competition is not against someone, it's with someone. So you compete with your teammates. I'm striving for a certain goal with everyone who's on my team. Now, they put it where you you're in competition, or you're in competition, you're in striving against someone. But the word competition does means it doesn't mean to battle someone. Competition doesn't mean to battle someone. It means I'm striving for a certain goal with my brothers, and I'm doing that against someone else. So when they say you're competing against someone else, that's the correct, but only in the terms of a group sport. When you're an individual, you're not competing against someone. You're just battling someone. Competition is made for groups of people. And if you're singular, there is no competition for a single person. You just battling. You just try to win, trying to put the smack down.
Competitor was derived from two Latin root words, which meant to strive for a common goal. To strive together for something is quite different than the current meaning of competition, which is to win at any cost, or to see competitors as enemies to be eliminated. It seems our ancestors understood this principle of nature better than we do today. In order for businesses to have sustainable success in a changing environment, we have to get out of the competitive mindset and introduce a new collaborative mindset. Because when we start to model ourselves after nature, we begin to model ourselves after successful, sustainable systems. There are multiple examples of how evolution leads toward cooperation, not competition. The whole reason cells banded together is because they couldn't do much on their own. But when they came together in this way, as a community, they created new capabilities. If you have a group of cells, how intelligent?
And community only means together as one. You know, even the word alone means all one. So again, everything combined is one. And when you're separating, you are doing yourself a disservice. You're depowering yourself. You're taking away from your power. Now, as an Aries, who, and this is when you get the astrology, Aries are the people who are about self. They like being about themselves. But that's where an Aries weakness will come in. It's a strength, but it's also a weakness, because Aries, they work really fast and well by themselves. But they can't, even though they can get a lot done like that, they get nowhere near as much done as when they're able to work with a team. If they're able to put that, I need to do everything by myself mentality to the side, they can accomplish, the universe is the limit. So, even when it seems like the antithesis of nature is what it is, it's not. You always want to go with the harmony of how nature works. It's undefeated. Nature's undefeated. Nature's Floyd Mayweather.
One cell. This way, as a community, they created new capabilities. If you have a group of cells, how intelligent is one cell? It's 1x. But what if you put 16 of them together? How intelligent is one cell then? It's 16x, because now it draws from the wisdom of the entire community of cells. People united together in communities for similar reasons. For example, only by coming together could they learn to specialize instead of everyone having to be experts at everything, which made them more vulnerable in their environment. People were much more powerful when they came together and worked together. This is called the power of diversity, one of the key principles of nature. This principle is seen clearly in one of the most delicate and fragile things in nature, the snowflake. Individually, they appear insignificant and powerless, but just look at what they can do when they stick together. In order to accomplish great things, we have to work together. Healthy competition can be a source of inspiration to make a better product or service, rather than a strategy to eliminate others from providing similar products or services. Yet when we see others as competitors for limited resources, like customers, recognition, and money. Every day is a struggle for survival, and we live fearful and stressful lives. Instead, the mindset we need is one that fosters a sense of common purpose, security, and abundance, rather than fear and chaos. Collaboration isn't the only wisdom nature provides us. When you consider the biggest and most dangerous creatures of all time, the dinosaurs, they're no longer around. Yet cockroaches have been around for millions of years. They learned how to adapt to a changing environment. The dinosaurs did not. Adapt or perish now as ever is nature's inexorable imperative. Some of the key principles of nature include diversity, adaptation, resiliency, balance, harmony, and more. If companies applied these principles in their daily work life, the world would be a much more sustainable and hospitable place. Unfortunately, simply knowing the cause of a problem and trying to fix it by doing what we have been doing seldom changes its effect. It's time to work smarter, not harder. It's not about doing what we are already doing more effectively and efficiently. It's about doing something different. The fact is that business as usual isn't working. We are trapped in a prison of limiting beliefs about how to do business. In order to create sustainable success, we have to do something different. In order to do something different, we have to think differently. So how do we elevate our thinking to a new level? A level that can free us from this mental prison. Leading edge neuroscience has some answers. These answers include the subconscious mind, the whole brain state, and high-speed mindset change. U.S. News and World Report presented a special issue February 28, 2005, called The Secret Mind, featuring an article entitled How Your Unconscious Really Shapes Your Decisions. The article revealed, according to cognitive neuroscientists, we are only conscious of 5% of our cognitive activity, so most of our decisions, actions, emotions, and behavior depends on 95% of our brain activity that goes beyond our conscious awareness. The subconscious mind controls all involuntary processes and functions, including thoughts, beliefs, emotions, memories, skills, instincts, and behaviors, of which we are not consciously aware. They originate in the subconscious mind and generate the effects we experience in the brain and body. These subconscious experiences create beliefs that drive future thoughts and behaviors. Often these thoughts and behaviors are self-limiting or even self-destructive. They dictate the limits of our performance, both personally and professionally. Yet many change processes and corporate training methods fail or produce only limited results because they communicate only with the conscious mind, relying heavily on facts, reason, willpower, positive thinking, and motivation. This kind of training teaches us what to do to be more effective, but it seldom provides us with the necessary mind management tools to accomplish that goal. The missing piece is the ability to align our subconscious beliefs with our conscious goals in order to create effective, sustainable change. What this tells neuroscientists and change management executives is that it's not enough to rely on motivation, good intentions, and good goals. We must do something different by learning how to change our subconscious beliefs. A key fact.
Now this goes back to the Kabbalion. What's the first principle in the Kabbalion?
The mind is all.
Yes, the all all is mind. All is mind. So, but most people, when they come across those, they don't understand that there's a duality to the mind. There's the conscious and the subconscious. And both of those have to work. They work in unison to create your reality. So a lot of times when people think, when they say, I just need to, I'm going to focus on what I need. I'm going to focus on what I want, and I'm going to get it. Okay, that's true. But that's only using one part. That's the conscious mind. The subconscious is the letting go. The conscious says, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Bam, bam, bam. And then you put it out there. And then in your subconscious, you institute or initiate those actions, which will bring about, your conscious desire. So it's always an ebb and flow. It's a yin and yang. It's the masculine and feminine. The conscious is going to be the masculine. The subconscious is the feminine. It's the inhale, the exhale. So that's why a lot of people find it harder when you constantly trying to push through something. Bam, bam, bam. You pushing, punching through it. Bam, bam. I'm boom, boom. I'm gonna force my way through it. No, it's a boom, boom. That's what rhythm is. It's a hit, pause, hit, pause. Everything has that duality. So does the conscious mind. And so when we're creating these different, these organizations, if we're gonna create them on the level that we know we can operate on, then we have to keep those principles, those spiritual principles in mind, or we'll just be carbon copies of the Caucasian corporations, what they got going. We'll just be heartless, spiritual, spiritless, soulless, entities rolling around just trying to get over. And that's not how you're gonna get out of the karma that you in. Remember, melanated people, you're in the position you're in now because of karma. So you have to flip that karma. And so in all your doings and your actions throughout the world, they're going to have some type of, some altruistic, vibration and frequency to it. You got to be helping everybody. And if you just out to be helping brothers, melanated people, then you're going to be imbalanced because there's more than melanated people on the planet. And just helping melanated people ain't going to save the planet. It'll help, but it ain't going to just save the planet, just helping melanated people. So just the thought on when you do create your corporations, keep that in mind.